Callan from Integral Lifestyle Design, and today I want to talk to you about the pros and cons of online versus offline dating. Currently in Mexico, in Mexico City, sort of traveling all over Central and South America. But overall, here is the content. We're going to go about the pros and about the cons of each, and at the end, I'm going to give you my own decisions so that you can sort of decide for yourself if you want to do one or the other or both. You know, there's so many forums of people arguing for one or the other, saying that online dating's a waste of time, or the cold approach, or meeting girls in real life is a waste of time. We're going to get down to the bottom of it. I've done both, and I'm going to give you my honest opinions on all of it. Alright, so let's start with online dating. Online dating obviously has pros, right? I've got 5. So, first one is convenience. Online dating is very convenient. You can basically lie in bed or sit around at home, download apps like Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, so on, whatever you want to use, and you can use that app to meet people without actually leaving your house. Now, of course, you've got to make a good profile, but if you make a good profile and you look after yourself, you will get matches, and it's going to be a really convenient way to meet people. You're not going to have to go out to events or venues or any of that to meet people. You just sit on your phone, you lie in bed, and you meet them. So in that way, it's pretty convenient. All right, next one is you can filter for certain types of people. So a lot of these apps now, Hinge is a great example. It lets you filter for certain types of people. So if you don't want to date anyone who's over 6 feet tall, then you don't have to. You can filter that to not see people. If you don't want to date a certain religion, if you don't want to date a certain race, if you don't want to date basically any type of person, if you don't want to date someone who smokes, if you don't want to date someone with children, whatever it is, usually you can use filters to sort of filter to find the certain types of people that you would like to meet. And that, I believe, is a very powerful feature. Because obviously, the chance of you finding someone who's, say, between 5'5" and 5'9", who's a non-smoker, that doesn't have any children, that has like at least 2 common interests with you, is harder in real life than it is online. Because online will just give you everybody. So that's pretty cool. All right, next one is you can meet people that you otherwise wouldn't have met. So offline, that's basically the people you run into in real life. A lot of the people you meet online are people you wouldn't otherwise have wandered into in the real world. So that's really convenient that you can meet people through this way of essentially, what would you call it? Just, opening the borders. You can meet people in different cities. You can meet people in your city that you never would have run into, so on. You know, there's billions of people on the planet, so it opens up the door to meet any of these millions of people that use these apps. Alright, next one is increased options for the same sort of reason that you're going to meet people from all over the place, right? You've got way more options. You're not just limited to the people in your circle, but you're limited to basically anyone you can meet online. Be that through a dating app or through Instagram or through a meetup group or whatever, right? You can meet people through all sorts of things, forums, Discord, however else people meet. And the last one is, it's really good when traveling or when moving to a new place. Because when you're traveling, if you're like me and you come into Mexico, you don't know anyone, right? I don't know anyone in Mexico City. So if I wanted to date here, it'd be a really practical way to jump online and to date. Or even to jump online and set my location to Mexico and meet some people before I actually get here. So it's really powerful like that. The same as if you're moving. You can move and you can set up dates and meet people through these apps before you actually get there. Because if you're not in any social circles, you're sort of limited, I guess, to the people you'll be introduced to. So through these apps, it's a great way to meet more people. But online dating, I'm making it sound great. It does definitely have cons. Here's 5 cons for you. First one is people can hide stuff, right? So people can lie about their age, people can lie about their weight, people can use filters, people can have anxiety or different mental disorders or whatever going on that you don't know about. Basically, all you've got to go off is a photo and a bio, and that's about it. You've got to gauge their personality off this short little bio. Some profiles don't even have bios, and the photos, while looks are definitely important, they're not the only thing. So you could be physically attracted to somebody, but then when you meet up, you won't be interested in them. So that's a really powerful one. And second one, it's harder to assess someone's personality because you don't know. You've got a little Tinder bio or something. Usually the bios are silly anyway. Like people aren't writing honest bios on Tinder that go into their depth and their interests and all this. It's just like a little funny comment. So a lot of the time you don't really know who this person is. All you can go off is their looks and sort of the vibe that you get off their profile, which isn't that much. Next one, it can be addictive. So I know heaps of guys that don't date, they don't have girlfriends, they don't do anything, but they'll sit on Tinder and they'll swipe and swipe and swipe, and basically that's their version of dating. And I get people complaining saying, I don't have a girlfriend, and I ask them, well, how many girls have you asked out in the last month? And that is none, right? But they're swiping, all right? They're getting 2 matches a day, and they're messaging. Maybe they'll get a few messages a week, and then the little flake, and, it's not working for them. So that's that one, And it can be very addictive. And if you're going the other way and you're getting lots of matches, it's easy to sort of get addicted to playing the game because it's like a slot machine. You swipe and going, am I going to get one every time, which really charges your dopamine and makes you want to swipe more. Then when you do get one, you get this release of pleasure, and essentially you're just talking to a bunch of people, but you're not really getting anywhere. So that's that reason. Alright, next one. It usually costs money. If you're using any of these apps, Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, so on, it's quite hard to meet people for free, right? Because the algorithm will boost profiles who pay. Like Tinder's Platinum service, which is their top one. Essentially, if you want to be seen by a lot of people, you need the top service or this top subscription. You notice if you've ever bought one that your matches will skyrocket. They used to be with Tinder Gold, now it's Tinder Platinum, right? So if you have Tinder Gold now, you're not going to get the results you got if you had Tinder Gold a few years ago. So you need to keep that into account. It does cost money to online date if you want to have any serious results, right? You're going to need to do boosting and all this stuff, because these dating apps, they want to make money. At the end of the day, they're not trying even that hard to connect people. They're trying to make money. They're trying to hook you and to milk you from your money, right? So you do sort of have to play that game or find a really sneaky way to exploit it in order to get ahead. All right, next one, it can be frustrating. So I reckon as a guy, you're sort of like your value as a guy in the dating marketplace drops by a few points when you go online, right? Because a girl can't assess your vibe, they can't assess your personality, they can't assess your confidence, they can't really talk to you, they can't get to know you. So unless you're like a 10 out of 10, like one of the best looking guys around, you're not really going to see that many results, because it's the same with the girls. All they have to go off is your photos and your personality. And a lot of the time, they're just going to look at photos, because the amount of personality that comes through Tinder or one of these dating apps is very minimal. Hinge is probably the best for this, but it's still very minimal. So in that way, it can be quite frustrating for a lot of guys. Tinder's sort of a platform where you need to be at the very top in your looks and like your status and all this to see serious results. It's like sort of like 80% of men on there see very little, and 20% see a little bit, and then like maybe your top 5% or so, they're the ones that are getting like consistent matches, consistent dates, so on and so on. But even then, I'd argue that their value still drops when they use these apps. So let's go into offline. Alright, so 5 pros of offline dating. First one is you can assess someone's personality. And how do you do that? You talk to them, right? You have a conversation to them. You look them in the eyes. You sort of feel their energy, as weird as that sounds. You feel their aura. You figure out sort of who this person is. Do you click with this person? I can't tell you how many dates I've gone on from apps where you show up and in 5 minutes you know that even if you're physically attracted to the person, you know that you're not really vibing. You know that you don't really have a emotional connection. Because the way I always say it, you need 3 levels if you want any sort of meaningful relationship. You need to be physically attracted, you need to be like intellectually, emotionally attracted, and you need to have like a spiritual connection. And if you don't believe in the spiritual connection, ignore that. But you've got to have some kind of emotional connection with somebody as well. And when you talk to someone in real life, you will know. Like if you've ever talked to a girl, if you've ever dated a girl you've met in real life, you know pretty quickly if you like her or not. And you can be forward with it, and you can be honest about it, and you can be confident about it. It's better in that way, for sure. That's why Ken's in capitals. All right, next one. You can approach anyone you're interested in. Now, a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people just date within their social circle, or they date at work, or maybe they'll ask out a girl at the bar after a few drinks. That's sort of the norm, and that was the norm for a long time, because society would sort of hook people up more than it does now, right? And relationships were sort of more serious and long-term and all that. And to a degree, that's been lost. There's a lot more people just sort of playing around, being casual, and not really having dating and relationship skills that people used to have. So as a result of that, that was like a limitation. The reality is, any girl you see anywhere, you can approach. If you're confident, if you're masculine, if you're on top of it, if you see cute girl at the shops, at the gym, at the bar, going for a walk, whatever, and you'll know because you'll feel that impulse of, oh, cool, I want to go and talk to her. Now, a lot of guys get stuck in their heads when that happens, and they go, oh, I can't talk to her, I'm scared, or whatever, you know. You got to be able to push past that. If you can push past that fear, and if you can control that fear and control yourself, then you can go and talk to any girl. If you're attracted to her, she's cool, you can go talk to her. That, in my opinion, is single-handedly the most powerful epiphany you can have with dating. Is that any girl in the world you see, you can go and talk to them. Same with business or anything else. Anyone who exists on the planet, you can talk to them, right? That's really powerful. You might not always get the best response, but you can do it. You can initiate. That's the most powerful abundance thing ever. Next one, you'll develop more confidence. If you're going and talking to girls in real life and asking girls out in real life and getting numbers and doing all this stuff, then that is going to be so powerful for your confidence. And the thing is, if you haven't tried it, which most guys haven't tried it, it works from my experience a lot better than online. Like your chance of getting a date from asking a girl out in real life compared to matching a girl on Tinder is 10x. It's ridiculous. Because you're one guy, you're a real person, she knows who you are, you're in front of her, and you're saying this stuff compared to you're one of her like 30 Tinder matches that are sort of trying to talk to her and trying to get her. You can understand how that's very different. Most guys don't have the confidence to ask a girl out in real life. Next one, your social skills will improve for the same reason, because you'll get rejected, you'll build character, you'll learn what works, you'll learn what doesn't work, you'll become more social, you'll enjoy being social more, you'll get used to it, you'll get over the anxiety and anything else that limits you, and those social skills will help you just not only in your dating life, but every area of your life. So that's powerful. Next one is abundance and freedom for that same reason. You can go and talk to anybody. Any girl you're interested in, you can go talk to her. No big deal. Doesn't matter where it is. Maybe there's places where it's not appropriate to do it, like maybe if she's at like her grandma's funeral, wouldn't be the best time to try and get a number. But for the most part, you can do it. And sure, you might get rejected, but you can do it. You have the abundance to do that. And if she says no, there's 3.5 billion other girls on the planet you could go talk to. Guaranteed one of them, probably millions of them are going to say yes. Alright, let's talk about the cons. Now the cons here aren't as bad, I think, as online dating, but let's have a look. First one is smaller pool of potential matches. Because you don't have Tinder, you don't have access to like every girl on dating apps in the world, which you do when you use the apps. Now you've just got sort of exposure to the people you run into in your life. That can still be a lot of people, but it's not as many as online. So you don't quite have as many options to meet as many people, right? Next one is it takes more time and energy. So obviously to go out to talk to girls, it takes more time because you're out of the house, you're doing something, right? It also takes more energy because it takes energy because you're risking rejection and you're sort of putting yourself out there and, you know, like opening up in that way of asking someone out where they can reject you. So in that way, it does require a lot of energy because it does take energy to have the confidence to do that. Next one, it can be harder to screen for red flags. So the same thing with the filters online. If you want someone who doesn't smoke, that's between 5'5" and 5'9", who doesn't have kids, so on, so on. That's pretty easy to find online if you find like an honest profile, right? Offline, that's a bit harder. You don't know if a girl smokes. You don't know if a girl's got BPD. You don't know if a girl's like hates a family. Don't know any of this, right? So as a result, sometimes the red flags are a little bit harder to see. You might have to look a bit closer to them. The thing is, if you fall in love, it's harder to see them. So you need to be careful. All right, next one. Not everyone you approach is going to be single. So again, it takes time and energy to do this. If you ask a girl out, she might have a boyfriend. She might be married. She just might not be interested. Whatever else is going on. But yeah, you'll get a lot of people. You'll find, especially attractive girls, which obviously, if you ask them out, chances they're going to have a boyfriend. Or they're going to have some other guy in their life, right? That's just how it is. So especially if you're trying to go and approach very attractive women, a lot of the time you're going to get the I have a boyfriend. And even if she doesn't, even if she's lying, the I have a boyfriend is a way of saying I'm not interested. Okay? Cool. For the most part, 99% of the time. Focus on girls that are interested in you, not on girls that aren't. All right, next one, rejection. All right, so obviously no one wants to be rejected. No one likes rejection, so it is a con. But at the same time, it is helpful in the way that it builds character. Being rejected definitely builds character. If you work in sales or have ever worked in sales, or if you've ever done cold approach and gone to pick up girls or whatever, when you get rejected, it sort of hurts. And the first few times is always the worst. Once you've been rejected, a couple of dozen times, it doesn't hurt as much. You don't feel the sting as much, right? And you do get used to it. And it doesn't matter how successful you are, there's always going to be people that would reject you, right? Obviously, the more like of a high status, high value guy you can be, the better. And your rejection probability is going to go down, but it'll always be there. That's just how it is. All right. So they're the pros and cons. Now, at the end of the day, from my experience, offline dating is better, but online's better when traveling. Offline's definitely better. I mean, you can meet anybody you want to meet. And the way I do it, I don't go out to do what people would call day game, which is you just go out to pick up girls. The way I do it is I go about my life, and when I see someone who I think looks interesting, or I'm pulled to, where I'm attracted to them, then I'll go over and I'll talk to them. And I'll go and initiate something, try and get a number, try and get a date, so on. For me, that's the best way to do it. If you want to train it, I guess, then you can go to the whole cold approach thing, go and get a heap of numbers, so on. If you're really awkward or anxious, you might want a coach or someone to help you do that, right? But at the end of the day, that's how I do it. I just go about my personal life, I wander around, and if I see someone oh, cool, then I'll wander over, I'll talk to them. Because we're humans, we're social creatures. So, in my experience, offline dating is definitely better. There is times when online's better, and I think online can be better when traveling. You can put your online dating profile in a city before you get to that city. If there's a language barrier, here no one speaks English, or 3% of the population speak good English. So that can be good in the way of translation, of meeting people, especially if you're in a tourist area. So usually online can be better when you're traveling. But at the end of the day, do both. Do the cold approach, do all this, and do a little bit of online dating. You don't want to do heaps of it, but do a little bit. Always have that door open, because if you want to meet the right girl or open certain experiences in your life, you need to make the probability of that happening as high as possible. So therefore, why wouldn't you do both? You'd have online and you'd have offline. So yeah, overall, that's my overall sort of pros and cons list of these two things. Let me know what you think. Do you think online's better? Do you think offline's better? Do you think that you should do both? Do you think I'm just talking rubbish? Let me know. Send a comment as to what you think. Give me any advice, or any other viewers any advice, and let everyone know what you think, especially if you're experienced, especially if you've got a story to tell. I would love to hear it, and I will respond to every comment, as always. Cool. So, peace out. I'm going to go to yoga and then go salsa dancing. The beauty of traveling. Peace out. Enjoy the rest of your day.